Howdy, y'all. My name is Telios, and welcome to the AI age verification hell. You know it, you hate it, and you wish they wouldn't do it, but who cares what we think? So, for this, I'm not just going to be talking about AI age verification entirely. I'm really just looking at the cybersecurity side of things because that's what my specialty is. Now, if you spend a lot of time in technology internet land like I do, you learn that hackers really like pinatas. And when I say a pinata, I mean a company that, ideally has a lot of valuable data in it. Because when you think of a pinata, the small ones have a small amount of candy. And those are nice, but then you look at the gigantic ones, and ideally, if you're a hacker, of course, ideally those are full of way more candy that you want. In this case, candy being things like personal data, credit cards, all of that stuff that either make you money through using it, like a credit card, or make you money through selling it, like social security numbers. And of course, they're going to want to target bigger pinatas because when you think about it, hacking takes time. I've done some Red Hat cyber stuff, which is when you pretend to be a hacker trying to break into a system. It takes a lot of time. And if you're going to spend all that time, you want it to be worth it. Now, the way that you kind of want to avoid this as a company is by, one, making yourself the smallest possible target, and two, having the best possible security. And you have to do both of these things. If you're the smallest possible target, sure, they might be able to break into your system, but it's not worth the time and effort. And if you have the best possible security, well, I can't say it's impossible to break into the system because, inevitably someone can. It's more a matter of making it so hard that it's not worth the time and effort to do it. The problem is, the bigger your company is, the bigger a pinata it becomes. And then, people are going to spend any amount of time they can to try and break into your systems because the payoff is gigantic. I mean, think of something like Amazon. Yeah, I'm sure they have amazing security. I certainly hope they do, and we can assume they do because we've never really heard of a gigantic breach where everyone's credit card got stolen or something. And the reason that points to good security is because they're a gigantic target. You know that they are probably getting hundreds, if not thousands, of attacks every single year. And yet, no one gets through. They have good security, and it's very hard and very time-consuming. Now, putting global AI age verification in place a mere 5 months after a data breach happened is the exact opposite of becoming a small target with good security. And yes, I know that the October breach, that was not directly through Discord, that was through their partner. However, the same concept still applies. Discord collected data, it got sent to someone else, and then that someone else got attacked. And what did that someone else specialize in? Age verification. It's the exact same thing. Discord, and then we just have a different company. Now, if I was a hacker, I'd be looking at this and thinking, oh, hell yeah. Because I have no reason to believe that security is necessarily going to be any better. And, in fact, kind of found that security is going to be about the same, which is absolutely one you want to hear right before they enforce this. So already off the bat, you can see that Discord is creating themselves to be this gigantic pinata of all this personal data with questionable security at best. They are a huge target now, and they're going to remain a huge target as long as this is in place. Now, at my job, like I said, I am the cybersecurity specialist at my job. I am paid to have paranoia. And that paranoia means that I have to assume at all times when I'm doing something that there is going to be a data breach. Fortunately, we have not had one, but I have to assume that is going to happen. And this is called zero trust architecture. Basically means for a company, let's say you have 100 files of personal information. You assume that every single person in your company is a potential means for an attacker to get access to those files. And so you give people the bare minimum that they need. The intern, maybe they only need one, so you give them access to one file instead of 50. A manager, maybe they need 10. You give them access to 10 instead of all 100. You get the idea. You put zero trust in people and give them the bare minimum that they need. That way, when something happens, the scope is greatly reduced because they can only access 10 files instead of all 100. It's a fantastic system, really good at keeping things secure, and really good at limiting the scope of impact when an incident actually occurs. That doesn't just mean that you have minimal data access. That also means that you have minimal data collection. In other words, you're not just limiting who inside your company can access a certain piece of information, you are limiting the information that you actually collect to the bare minimum that you need to do your job. So, imagine if you're going to your barber, and your barber looks at you and says, "Hey, I need your full legal name, your address, your driver's license information, your passport, your social security number, or whatever the non-United States equivalent is." And you'd be like, "Wait a minute, why do you need all of this? You don't need that to cut my hair. You just need my credit card to do that." Same idea. Zero trust architecture isn't just about limiting who inside collects it, it's limiting what you even collect to begin with. And, you don't need this, Discord. You don't need our biometric data. No, YouTube doesn't need it. Hell, Minecraft is doing it, from what I've seen. They don't need it either. None of these companies need this data. They are creating themselves to be a gigantic piñata for no other reason than just to have it. Which, as a side note, I am very much curious. I wish I could know this. I probably never will. If there's some sort of backdoor, not backdoor, behind closed doors deal that went on with different governments to collect this data and give them the data, because this is suddenly massively widespread. That's my personal conspiracy for the day. I think there's some sort of deal going on to collect and provide this data to different government agencies. But regardless, zero trust requires minimal collection, and that's not happening. And before anyone's like, "Oh, blame the UK government, they're the ones with the Online Safety Act," which, yes, that is true. This all started with them. That is their fault. This is their fault ongoing. But all of these companies have been way too quick and eager and excited to implement global age verification where they don't need it, to the extent that you can't say, "Oh, they don't want to do this, they're being forced to." No, they clearly want to. Otherwise, they wouldn't be globally mandating it. Basically, it's not just UK government's fault. If it were, we would see less global implementation. And I want you to keep in mind that zero trust is a two-way street. It's not just on the company to do this minimal access and this minimal collection. It's also on us to provide the minimal amount of information that they need, which sometimes does require not using different services when they want too much, but you are the first defense for your own private data. Because, except through illegal means, you cannot have your private data just taken from you unless you give it to them. Again, illegal means and all of that, but y'all don't know my full name, you don't know where I live, you don't know my credit card information or any of that, and you're not going to know it unless I willingly give it to you. So just keep that in mind with all this age verification popping up. The first line of defense for your data is you. Even if you think age verification is a good thing, do not put any trust in these companies to keep your data safe. Now, obviously we have to figure out how babies are made. So, clearly, when a bad parent and a foreign government hate you very, very much, they come up with AI age verification. And yes, I'm saying you are a bad parent because you are a terrible parent, actually, if you just hand your child an iPad for 12 hours a day with unlimited internet access simply because you can't be bothered to actually engage with them, keep them entertained, or at the bare minimum, teach them how to be safe online. You are a bad parent. And I am absolutely tired of this attitude of people of saying, oh, you can't call someone a bad parent, you can't judge their parenting, you don't know what it's like for them. I don't care. I am a parent. And I can say with 100% certainty, if you give your child access to something dangerous and then do not keep an eye on what they are doing and then expect the government to fix it for you, you are a bad parent. If you can't be bothered to parent your child, if you can't be bothered to keep an eye on them, interact with them, do the bare minimum of keeping them safe, which is your primary responsibility, you are a bad parent. That has absolutely nothing to do with cybersecurity. I just needed to rant. So how is AI age verification made? So here's the basic flow. So, you do your scan of your face or your ID or, whatever the fuck they want. And it goes to the age verifier. Which I'm willing to bet Discord already has a huge hacker problem. Go check out the No Text to Speech channel here on YouTube if you want to get a better idea of that. But there is a huge hacker problem already on Discord. I'm willing to bet that someone can figure out a way to piggyback on this scan, to see your ID, see your face, do whatever. It's just a matter of time, in my mind, before someone's going to figure that out. So, there's a threat right there. Now, the age verifier, that'll send it to the Discord backend and the AI provider database. And if you don't think it's being sent to an external database, this third-party database, you are living under a rock, and I wish I could be as trusting as you. Now, I will say, I do kind of believe Discord when they say that they are not keeping any of your data. And I say I kind of believe them because I don't think they're keeping it, but they never said anything about their providers keeping it. And given the October data breach of at least 70,000 IDs, probably more, let's be honest, being leaked, that's more than enough evidence. That's 70,000 pieces of evidence that say, yes, Discord's partners are keeping that data. So I don't think Discord has it, but their partners do. And from their partners, who knows? Well, I know. From their partners, it goes right to the hackers who breach their database. But once it's in the Discord backend, it goes to some functional code and to the database. At least this is how I imagine it's set up. This is what makes sense in my mind. Now, the functional code, when I say that, I mean, it checks what your age is, and then, if it thinks that you're under 18, it has this switch of being, okay, treat them as a minor. Set that to true. And when that value is true, your ability to, send a DM and go on a Discord stage and all that stuff, that is set to false through all that code and backend functioning to make that work. If your age is 18 or over, then, treat like baby mode is turned to false and you have access to all that stuff. And then when it's in the database in Discord, how I imagine they do that is probably just, your profile, whatever information they have on you, and then an age column. And if I were building the database, personally, I'd have age column, estimated age column if you didn't provide your driver's license and instead went with the AI. And if you have an estimated age, I would give it just kind of based on that estimated age, an estimated time to ask you to re-verify when it thinks you're 18. Personally, if I was setting it up. Of course, I would never actually set up anything like this to begin with, but I'm imagining I have no heart or soul. So this is my best guess on how the age verification kind of flows, just based on how code and the internet works. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I kind of want to show some security flaws with it. So first, you have a whole bunch of extra data transfers. I mean, from your device to the AI age verifier, from the verifier to the databases, and all of this transfer going back and forth, and all of that, even if it's encrypted, you can break into encrypted channels, and then you can eventually decrypt them. I mean, if you couldn't do that, the internet would be a much safer place. And I'm really mentioning this because verification adds a whole lot of extra transfers that didn't need to happen otherwise. Because when you're on the internet, there's a lot of data transfers, and yes, there are risks with those because people can steal them. Like I said, this creates extra ones that weren't there before and don't need to be there. So that's an extra security problem that you've created. Now, this, going back to my pinata, creates a gigantic pinata. Absolutely massive. Doesn't need to be there. And is an absolute nightmare. Like, if I was their cybersecurity person, I'd be so stressed right now. Like, I can't even begin to describe how stressed I would be if this was my job to keep all this safe for Discord. Like, October. I keep saying 5 months ago. This was October 2025. 70,000 IDs were leaked through their partner. Apparently no one remembers this. I don't know how. Well, when I say no one, I mean the people who actually make these decisions don't seem to remember this. But then, what was it? Last week, 2 weeks ago, it was found that an AI verifier thing, kind of like this, they discovered 1 billion, and that is with a B, 1 billion, 1/8 of the world's population. They found a database that had those IDs just exposed. Public facing, exposed, no password, no encryption, nothing. Now, they do say that there was no sign that any of those were actually stolen. I hope to God that's true. But, like, these are the people that are being trusted with our security, with our personal information, if we upload this stuff. Databases that are hacked and don't have passwords or encryption or anything to keep it safe. And just speaking on a company level, like, the bare minimum is to put encryption and passwords on a database. Like, that's so basic that I was talking to my wife about this. She doesn't do cyber. I talked to her a little bit about cyber, but I don't talk too much just because when you aren't immersed in it every single day, it can kind of make your head swim, and I don't want to, like, just overload her. I asked her, like, okay, if you had a database of secure information, what would you do to keep it safe? She immediately guessed a password, and then after, like, 2 or 3 minutes, she suggested, like, okay, is there some way to kind of make the data inside of it, like, not look like the data? Which, when you don't speak cyber, that's encryption. And when I gave her the word encryption, she's like, yeah, that. So my wife, who doesn't do this for a living, figured it out in under 5 minutes. And these companies that are supposed to keep this stuff safe, they didn't set up initially. And then, once you create a secure system, you do regular security sweeps to check for stuff. And I may be misremembering the article, but I'm pretty sure it was not them who found this problem with the database. That 1 billion passwords. I think it was someone else who alerted them to it. So, are they just not doing security sweeps? Are they not checking their own systems? My second conspiracy, which honestly is probably true, I think these AI age verification databases have such shitty security because they are at least partially vibe coded by AI. Like, these companies trust AI so much to make them their business model. I'm fully convinced that their databases are so insecure because they are also trusting AI to build something secure. And AI is not good at that. Like, trust me. Please, absolutely trust me. I know AI can be helpful in coding. It is not good at actually setting up proper security. Um, and if you create something and trust AI wholeheartedly to make a secure system for you, whatever happens next is on your head. But back to the topic. Like, this is a big pinata, not just because of the sheer amount of data going in, but because, externally looking inward, these systems seem to be incredibly insecure and incredibly easy to break into. Which, bad news if your information's in it. Great news if you want to steal some information. And I'm just remembering, I didn't put it on the PowerPoint, but I just remembered. So Discord's current, I've kind of lost track at this point, partner for this new wave of verification, they're called Persona. We found actual evidence that they are linked to creating a US government database of everyone who uploads their IDs, which is awesome. Love that. But you know how we discovered that link? There were 3 hackers who were trying to find ways around it. Actually, I don't even know if they're necessarily hackers or they're just programmers and coders, but regardless, they were trying to find a way around the age verification, and they just found public linking connections between Persona and this US surveillance company, Palantir. And when I say public facing, what that means is you can just, find it in the code. It was just kind of there. Not hidden, not obscured, not encrypted, nothing like that. Not running through the back end like you would normally want to run it. It was just there. So even their current partner can't figure out how to do basic security to hide their network connections. We're so fucked. What's the next bullet point? Yeah, if you were to ask me what I imagine the top 3 targets are for hackers, and I'm talking in general, not like a specific company like Amazon, the top 3 I would say are probably banks, government databases, and now AI age verification databases, because they've proven to be such a soft target. So, thanks to all of this, Discord's yeah, trust me, I'm going to store it in this unlocked cardboard box, is what it feels like, and is kind of what everyone's treating it like. And I'm a little scared that we're going to find out that's even worse than that. But stepping away from just the cyber aspect of things, the cybersecurity, let's look at the technological side on the front end, the user experience. And it's just like me. And by that, I mean AI age verification is fundamentally flawed. Because if you're going to do it, you can have a unique identifier for people in one sense. By that, I mean a driver's license. Or, whatever else people upload. Passports are probably valid, all of that stuff. Because there's only going to be one copy of your specific license or passport, and it's always going to be linked to you. Which means Discord can link that to your profile, and if it shows up in someone else's verification attempt, they can say, hey, no, that's not right, and they can flag it. So that's a valid unique identifier. However, a face scan, absolutely not. You cannot make a face scan a unique identifier for 2 reasons. One is, I could take any public figure, top of my head, let's say I take Markiplier. I've been meaning to watch Iron Lung, so he's on the mind. I can probably stitch together enough clips from his YouTube videos to pass age verification. And then, if they are using faces as a unique identifier and saying that, hey, if someone tries to upload with Markiplier's face, they are denied. That means if I get there first, he can't use his own face. So of course, they can't do that. They can't set the face to be a unique identifier. Secondly, with so many people in the world, doppelgangers is a very common experience where you see someone that looks like you, or you see someone that you think is someone else because they look like them. I'm not going to show a picture of him, but my dad looks like Paul Hollywood, the co-host of Great British Baking Show. When I say he looks like him, I mean I will be watching the show, knowing full well it's not him, and my brain will still respond to seeing him in some scenes like, oh, look, there's your dad. So, like, if we, who are, biologically engineered through years of evolution to find faces even when there aren't some, if we can make that mistake of mistaking one person for another, no way in hell a computer's going to get it right. So they can't use the face as unique identifier. And why does all this make it functionally flawed? Well, like I said, I can just pull together a video of famous people and just use them to verify. Or, I can use my parents to verify. They've never used Discord. And even with unique identifier like a driver's license, my parents don't use Discord. So why don't I just use theirs? I know where they keep their driver's licenses. I've never, stolen it. I never have a reason to, and I'm not going to, but I know where it is. I bet there are plenty of underage people using Discord who know where their parents' licenses are. Just a quick 5-second scan, and there you go. So it literally is like, this age verification is like putting a Band-Aid over a cannonball wound. If you look real close, it looks fantastic, like it's doing a good job, and then you zoom out, like, oh wait, no, this isn't doing anything, because you can figure out how to get around it if you spend more than 3 seconds thinking about it. So, all I have to do is just find someone else's ID or someone else's face to use, and boom, I got through. And that's not to talk about the fact that it has a horrible job. Like, these fundamentally and historically are terrible at distinguishing human faces and computer faces. And for this reason, I have to tell you, it'd be very irresponsible for me to not warn you about this website, nofacescan.app. I'm telling you about this so you can make sure to avoid it, because you might break the law if you use it to do your age verification. I don't know what laws are going to be attached to age verification for the users in the future, but, I'd be irresponsible to tell you, or to tell you to use this, and it'd be irresponsible to not tell you about this so you can avoid it. There we go. That's the sentence I was trying to get out. You 100% should follow unjust laws. Absolutely. Do not go to this website to break age verification. That would just be wrong. But, yeah, age verification. From a security side of things on the back end, horrendous. From a security side of things on the front end, doesn't work. And in terms of actually keeping children safe, let's say, this goes into place and, everything's happy, we start using it, and we're like, oh yeah, this is actually going to keep children safe. You do not protect a vulnerable group by pointing at them, separating them from everyone else, and saying, hey, look, this is that vulnerable group. That doesn't keep anyone safe when they're in a space where they were already anonymous. Yeah, you might be able to figure out who's a child based on how they're talking, how they're acting, but you never know for certain unless they tell you. But now, these companies, under the guise of protecting children, are pointing exactly at them, so people know who they are. And, even if a bunch of adults don't verify, it's still making it more dangerous for children who, either are too young to figure out how to get around this and can't verify, or just for whatever reason aren't going to. So now it's not only are these disgusting creeps online, not only is it easier for them to find these kids, they can also aim to be put into this age group with these children, knowing full well that they don't have actual protection. Because, these companies aren't talking about putting any actual protection in place for children after you verify. Think about that for a second. Oh, we're putting verification to protect the children. Well, what are you doing after you verify to keep them safe? Because not one company has actually said something. Not one company has actually proposed anything that would work, and they have not actually implemented anything to keep children safe after you go through the verification process. So they're just sorting them from the get-go. And then just, toss everyone to their groups, and who cares if the wolves are among the sheep? We did our job, we're not losing money. Who gives a shit? We do. We don't just care about this because, oh, we want to keep our privacy. Losing this privacy is dangerous. It's not just dangerous for adults. Like, it's literally dangerous for the people that it's supposedly for. And not only does it make it easier for these predators to find them, like, think about it for a second. I'm an adult on the internet, and I genuinely want to keep children safe. Like, I'm a sane, functional human being. I have always wanted to keep children safe. But now, like, I work at a non-for-profit that tries to help children. I have a child. Now more than ever in my adult life, I want to keep kids safe because I am experiencing these kids who haven't been kept safe for whatever reason. I have a kid who, like, I would go to prison to keep safe. But now, like, because of this, like, we're taking children, not only pointing them out to predators, not only giving predators a target to aim for, we're separating these kids from adults who might actually want to keep them safe, might actually take steps to protect them if they notice that these kids are in danger online. So it's like, congratulations. You know, everyone, we've separated them, made them easy pickings, and then anyone who would actually want to protect them, we've shoved them so far away from them that nothing can be done about it. And the parents keeping the kids safe, it's because parents don't want a parent that were already in this problem. So who's keeping these kids safe? Nobody. Nobody's keeping them safe. We've created a system for the children that doesn't keep any children safe and puts adults in dangers. Like, we've done terrible work. And I'm saying we, like, I don't blame you watching this. I don't blame me, because we can't create these laws. We can't do anything about this besides just complain and raise the issue and try to get them to listen. Trying to get rid of the ability to be anonymous on the internet. Like, yeah, being anonymous, it lets crappy people do crappy things without consequence. It lets criminals exist and get away scot-free because it's really hard to figure out who they are. Yeah. But criminals don't just create crime anonymously online. I mean, for fuck's sake, Jack the Ripper, remember him? I mean, if you do remember him, you're probably immortal, but, like, it took us a couple hundred years to have even the slightest inkling of who he might be. And yeah, extreme example using a serial killer from the 1800s. But I think it gets the point across, like, being anonymous is not the problem with criminals existing. Like, you don't become a criminal if you get caught. That's kind of how it happens. Like, yeah, you break the law, you commit a crime, but you don't become a career criminal. You don't keep making money off of it. You don't keep hurting people if you actually get caught. So making everyone else identify themselves, all it does is put these criminals in a target-rich environment. And then you just lock the door and walk away. How the hell does this keep anyone safe? I'm not actually sure how to end this video. This is what I've got. This is my attempt to scream into the void. To try and catch Discord's ear. I don't think they're going to listen. So, I don't know, guys. Just do the best you can. Try to be safe. Do not hand out your information to these people. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve our trust. They do not deserve to know who you are. They will not keep you safe. They do not care about you. Just try to be a good person in someone else's life. Try to be the reason that someone smiles. And even if that someone is you. And just do what you can to make the world better and safer, because no one else is, it seems. And remember, the world is a better place with you in it. Later.